The mortgage statement in my hands felt like ice against my fingertips, even though my apartment was stifling hot from having 4 adults crammed into a space meant for one. "Cassandra, honey, could you grab us some more coffee?" Mom called from the living room where she and Dad had claimed my couch as their permanent throne, "and maybe some of those cookies you picked up yesterday." I stared at the paper. $847,000. My name, my social security number, my signature. Except I'd never signed anything for $847,000 in my life. "My name is Cassandra, and 3 months ago I thought I was being a good daughter. My parents had lost their house, Dad's business went under, Mum's part-time job at the boutique disappeared when the store closed. When they showed up at my door with suitcases and tears, what was I supposed to do? Turn them away? So I gave them my bedroom and moved to the couch. I picked up extra shifts at the hospital, working doubles until my feet bled in my shoes. I smiled when Dad criticised my grocery choices and nodded when Mom rearranged my kitchen to be more efficient. "Cassandra!" Mom's voice had that edge now. "The coffee." "Coming," I managed, folding the mortgage statement and shoving it into my scrubs pocket. I walked to the kitchen on autopilot, my mind spinning. The return address was from Premier Home Loans. The property address was 1247 Ocean View Drive, one of those fancy neighbourhoods where houses had circular driveways and 3-car garages. "There's my hard-working girl," Dad said as I handed him his coffee. He was wearing the new polo shirt I'd bought him last week, looking more relaxed than I'd seen him in years. "You know, your mother and I were just talking about how proud we are of you, taking care of family like this." "It's what family does," I said automatically, the words I'd been programmed to say since childhood. Mom beamed at me from her spot on my couch, surrounded by the throw pillows she'd bought to brighten up the place. With my money, of course. That's our Cassandra, always putting family first. My phone buzzed. A text from my younger sister Laurel. "Can't wait for you to see the new place. Housewarming party next weekend." The coffee mug slipped from my hand, shattering against the hardwood floor. "Careful, sweetheart," Dad said, not moving to help clean up. "Good thing we got you those nice ceramic mugs. The cheap ones would have made such a mess." I knelt down, picking up pieces of broken ceramic while my mind raced. Laurel's new place. $847,000. My signature. "What new place?" I asked, trying to keep my voice casual. Mom and Dad exchanged a look, one of those quick, guilty glances that parents think kids don't notice. "Oh, you know Laurel," Mom said with forced lightness, "always moving around, trying new things." "She got a new apartment," another look between them. "Something like that," Dad said. "Nothing for you to worry about, honey. You've got enough on your plate." I stood up slowly, ceramic shards in my palm. "Where is it?" "Where's what?" Mum's voice pitched higher. "Laurel's new place." The silence stretched too long. Dad cleared his throat. "I think it's somewhere in Ocean View. Nice area." "Ocean View, 1247 Ocean View Drive." "That's expensive," I said carefully. "Well, you know how Laurel is," Mom said with a nervous laugh. "She's always been good with money, much better than us anyway." Good with money. Laurel, who'd never held a job for more than 6 months. Laurel, who'd called me crying just last year because she couldn't make rent. Laurel, who'd somehow managed to buy a house in one of the most expensive neighbourhoods in the city, with my name on the mortgage. I excused myself to the bathroom and pulled out the statement again. There it was, clear as day. My signature, but not quite right. The C in Cassandra had a little flourish I'd never made. The H in Hunt was too angular. Someone had practiced my signature. Someone had gotten very, very good at it. My hands were shaking as I took a picture of the document and texted it to my best friend Ronnie with a message. "Call me. Emergency." When I walked back into the living room, Mom and Dad were whispering urgently. They stopped the moment they saw me. "Everything okay, honey?" Mom asked, her smile too bright. I looked at them, really looked at them. At Dad in his new clothes, relaxed and comfortable in my space. At Mum with her fresh manicure and the expensive face cream she'd started using since moving in. At the way they'd settled into my life like they owned it. "Everything's perfect," I said. And for the first time in 3 months, I meant it, because now I knew exactly what kind of family I was dealing with. I waited until the next morning when Dad was reading his newspaper and Mom was doing her crossword puzzle. Both of them looked so comfortable, so settled in their routine of living off my dime. I dropped the mortgage statement on the coffee table between them. "Want to explain this?" Dad's newspaper crinkled as his hands tightened. Mum's pen froze mid-word. "What is it, honey?" Mum asked, but her voice was already shaky. "It's a mortgage statement for $847,000 with my name on it." I sat down across from them, keeping my voice level, "for a house I've never seen." The silence stretched until Dad finally folded his newspaper with deliberate precision. "Cassandra, sit down. Let us explain." "I am sitting down. We can explain everything." Mum jumped in, her words tumbling over each other. "It's not what it looks like. We were going to tell you." "When?" I cut her off. "When the first payment was due. When my credit was destroyed." "When?" Dad leaned forward, putting on his serious father voice. "Your sister needed help. You know how hard things have been for everyone. So you stole my identity." "We didn't steal anything," Dad said sharply. "We're family. Family helps family." "By forging my signature?" Mom's face crumpled. "We were desperate, Cassandra. Laurel was going to lose Peyton if she couldn't." "Bonnie," Dad's voice was a warning. But Mom kept going. "She said he'd never marry someone who couldn't even afford a decent place to live." She was crying every night, saying she'd lose the love of her life because we couldn't help her. "So you decided to help her with my money, my credit, my signature." "It's temporary," Dad said. "Laurel's going to pay it back. She's got that new job." "What new job? Last I heard she was between opportunities." Another guilty look between them. "She's figuring things out," Mom said weakly. I laughed, but there was no humour in it. "She's figuring things out with an $847,000 house." "The payments aren't that bad," Dad said, "and your credit is excellent. You'll barely notice." "I'll barely notice." I stood up so fast the coffee table shook. "I'll barely notice an extra $4,000 a month?" Mom gasped. "It's not 4,000 plus insurance, plus taxes, plus maintenance." I was pacing now, my voice getting louder. "Did you think I was stupid? Did you think I wouldn't find out?" "We were going to tell you," Dad said, "once everything was settled. Once what was settled, once you'd destroyed my financial future, once I was so deep in debt I could never dig out." "Don't be so dramatic," Dad snapped. "You're a nurse, you make good money, and it's not like you have any other expenses. No husband, no kids, no life, right? Just good old Cassandra, working herself to death to support everyone else." Mom started crying. "We raised you better than this. Family comes first, always." "Family comes first?" I turned on her. "Where was family when I was working 16-hour shifts to keep this roof over our heads? Where was family when I gave up my bedroom, my privacy, my savings?" "We've been grateful," Mom began. "Grateful enough to steal from me." "It's not stealing." Dad slammed his hand on the table. "You're our daughter. What's yours is ours, and what's ours is yours." "Really? So where's my mansion?" The front door opened, and Laurel walked in like she owned the place, which I realised she probably thought she did. "Hey, family!" She was glowing, practically bouncing. "I brought coffee for everyone," and she stopped when she saw our faces. "What's wrong?" I held up the mortgage statement. "Congratulations on your new house." Laurel's face went through several expressions. Surprise, guilt, defiance, and finally that smug smile I'd seen 1,000 times growing up. "Oh, you found out," she shrugged. "I was going to tell you at the housewarming party." "You were going to tell me that you stole my identity." "I didn't steal anything. Mom and Dad helped me get qualified for the loan. It's not like you were using your credit for anything important. Not using it for anything important. Come on, Cass. You live in this tiny apartment. You drive that old car. You never go anywhere or do anything. At least now your credit is helping someone who'll actually appreciate it. I stared at her, at all of them. Mum was still sniffling, Dad was glaring at me like I was the problem, and Laurel was examining her manicure like we were discussing the weather. "You're right," I said quietly. They all looked surprised. "I haven't been using my credit for anything important. I've been too busy taking care of everyone else." I smiled, and something in my expression made Dad shift uncomfortably. But that's about to change. I walked to my bedroom, the one that used to be mine, and retrieved the small voice recorder I'd hidden in the closet weeks ago. The one I'd been using to document every conversation, every admission, every casual mention of their plans. "Excuse me," I said, still smiling. "I have some phone calls to make." I locked my bedroom door and spread the voice recorder files across my laptop screen. 3 weeks of recordings, 3 weeks of conversations I'd suspected were happening but never wanted to believe. My phone buzzed. Ronnie. "What the hell is that mortgage statement?" she said without preamble. "They forged my signature, all of them, for Laurel's house." "Jesus Christ, Cass, please tell me you're calling the police." "I'm calling you first." "Why? Call the cops, call the FBI, call someone with a badge and a gun?" I clicked on the first recording. "I need you to hear something first." The audio was crystal clear. Dad's voice. "Try it again. The C needs more of a loop. Cassandra always makes her C with that little loop." Then Mom. "Like this. Better now the H in Hunt. See how she makes it? More vertical lines. This feels wrong, Patrick." "It's not wrong. It's family. Cassandra would do this herself if she understood how important it is for Laurel." Ronnie was quiet for a long moment. "Holy shit, they practiced forging your signature." "There's more." I clicked the next file. Laurel's voice bright and excited. "Did you see Peyton's face when I showed him the house? He's already talking about setting a date. This is perfect." "Mum, I just wish we didn't have to use Cassandra's..." "Use what? Her credit that's just sitting there doing nothing? Come on, Mom. She's never going to buy a house. She's never going to get married. At least this way her good credit is helping someone." "Dad, Laurel's right. Cassandra's always been the practical one. She'll understand." "Understand what? That you're stealing from me?" Ronnie's voice was tight with anger. "How long have you been recording them?" "Since the second week they moved in. I had this feeling..." I clicked another file. "Listen to this one." The audio was from last week. Dad again. "The bank called. They want to verify some information." Mum. "What kind of information?" "Employment verification for Cassandra. I told them she was working extra shifts and couldn't come to the phone." Laurel. "What if they want to talk to her directly?" Dad. "They won't. I've been handling all the paperwork. As far as they know, Cassandra is just busy with work. They impersonated me to the bank," I told Ronnie. "This is fraud. Multiple felonies. You have them dead to rights. But they're my family. They're criminals who happen to share your DNA." I clicked on the most recent recording from yesterday morning before I confronted them. Mum's voice. "I feel terrible about this. What if Cassandra finds out?" Dad. "She won't. And even if she does, what's she going to do? Turn in her own parents?" Laurel. "Exactly. Cassandra's too much of a pushover to do anything. She'll complain and cry, but she'll get over it. She always does." "She always does," I repeated to Ronnie. "Not this time. But what if..." "No," Ronnie's voice was firm. "No what ifs. They stole your identity. They committed fraud. They're destroying your financial future for your spoiled sister's mansion. And they're counting on you being too weak to stop them." I heard voices in the living room. They were talking about me. "Hold on," I told Ronnie and crept to the door. "She's just upset," Mum was saying. "She'll calm down." "She better," Dad replied. "We can't have her making trouble over this. The closing is next week." The closing is next week. Laurel sounded panicked. What if she tries to stop it? She won't, Dad said confidently. Cassandra's never stood up to us in her life. She's not going to start now. I put the phone back to my ear. Did you hear that? Every word. They're closing next week and they're betting you won't fight back. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should just... Just what? Let them ruin your life. Cass, listen to me. I've seen what identity theft does to people. It takes years to recover from. Years. And they're not planning to pay this back. They're planning to stick you with the bill while your sister plays house. I clicked on one more file. This one made my blood run cold. Dad's voice. If Cassandra becomes a problem, we'll figure something out. Maybe she needs to move out. Find her own place. Mum. But where would she go? Not our problem. We raised her, fed her, put a roof over her head for 18 years. She owes us, Laurel. Besides, she makes good money. She can afford her own place. Probably better for everyone if she's not here cramping our style. They're planning to kick me out, I whispered to Ronnie, out of my own apartment, after they've destroyed your credit and stuck you with a mortgage you can't afford. I trusted them. I know, but trust is a two-way street, and they've been driving the wrong way for months. I looked around my bedroom, the room I'd given up, in the apartment I'd worked so hard to afford, surrounded by the life I'd built that they were systematically destroying. What do? You fight back. You take those recordings to the police, to the bank, to whoever will listen. You show them that Cassandra Hunt is not the pushover they think she is. And if it destroys my family, Cass, they destroyed your family the moment they decided to steal from you. You're just deciding whether to let them get away with it. I saved all the audio files to a secure folder and started making copies. You're right, I said. It's time to stop being the family doormat. Now you're talking. What's your first move? I smiled, and for the first time in weeks, it felt genuine. I'm going to make some very interesting phone calls. The bank's fraud department was located on the 3rd floor of a gleaming downtown building. I sat across from Jose Cox, a senior investigator with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanour. Ms. Hunt, I've reviewed the preliminary information you provided over the phone, Jose said, spreading my documents across his desk. This is quite serious. I have recordings, I said, pulling out my phone, of them practicing my signature, of them admitting to the fraud. Jose's eyebrows shot up. You recorded them? I had a feeling something was wrong. I've been documenting everything for weeks. I played him the signature practice recording first. Jose's expression grew darker with each word. This is clear evidence of forgery and identity theft, he said. How long have they been living with you? 3 months. They lost their house and I felt sorry for them. And they repaid your kindness by stealing your identity. My sister needed a house to impress her fiancé. Apparently, my credit was just sitting there doing nothing. Jose shook his head. We see this more often than you'd think. Family members assuming they have the right to use each other's financial information. He made notes on his pad. I'm going to start an immediate investigation. We'll need to freeze any accounts associated with this mortgage. What does that mean for the closing? There won't be a closing, not until we sort this out. My phone buzzed with a text from Mum. Where are you? We need to talk. I showed Jose the message. They're getting nervous. Good, they should be. He handed me a business card. Don't discuss this investigation with them. Don't let on that you've been here. Can you do that? I can try. One more thing. Do you have somewhere safe to stay? Sometimes these situations escalate when family members realize they're facing legal consequences. I thought about my tiny apartment, about Dad's temper, about how trapped I'd felt for months. I'll figure something out. When I got home, the atmosphere was thick with tension. Mum was pacing, Dad was on his phone, and Laurel was nowhere to be seen. There you are, Mum said, rushing over. We've been trying to reach you all day. I was at work. No, you weren't, Dad said, ending his call. I called the hospital. You weren't scheduled today. I had errands. What kind of errands? Mum's voice was shrill. Personal ones. Dad stepped closer. Cassandra, we need to know where you went. This is important. Why? Because... Mum looked at Dad helplessly. Because there's been a problem with Laurel's loan, Dad said finally. Some kind of mix-up at the bank. What kind of mix-up? They're asking questions, wanting to verify information. Dad's eyes were hard. You didn't talk to anyone, did you? Talk to anyone about what? About the house, about the loan. I looked between them, these people who'd raised me, who'd taught me that family came first, who were now terrified that their crimes might catch up with them. Why would I talk to anyone about a loan I didn't know existed? Relief flooded Mum's face. Of course, you wouldn't. We're just worried, that's all. Worried about what? About misunderstandings, Dad said carefully. Sometimes banks make mistakes, and we don't want this to affect Laurel's future. Or yours, I said quietly. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. I'm just tired. My phone rang. Laurel. Answer it, Dad commanded. I put it on speaker. Hey, Laurel. Cass, thank God. The bank called. They're postponing the closing. Something about needing additional verification. Her voice was panicked. You didn't say anything to anyone, did you? Say anything about what? About the loan. About Mom and Dad helping me. I didn't know Mom and Dad were helping you until yesterday. Good, that's good. She sounded like she was hyperventilating. Because if anyone asks, you were totally on board with this. You wanted to help your sister, right? I looked at my parents, both staring at me with desperate eyes. Right, Cass, Laurel pressed. I always want to help family, I said, which was technically true. See, Dad said after I hung up, this is just a temporary setback. Banks are paranoid these days. Maybe you should call them, Mom suggested. Explain that you're fine with the loan. Maybe I should. Really? Hope crept into her voice. Sure, I'll call them first thing tomorrow. Dad clapped me on the shoulder. That's my girl. I knew you'd come through for family. Family first, right? Always. That evening, Laurel showed up with takeout and champagne. I know things got a little heated yesterday, she said, setting bags on the counter, but I wanted to celebrate. Even with the delay, we're going to be neighbours soon. Well, sort of neighbours. Ocean View is only 20 minutes away. How thoughtful. And I got you something. She handed me a small wrapped box. An early housewarming gift. For when you come visit. Inside was a keychain with a tiny house charm. It's beautiful. I had it engraved. She turned it over. Best sister ever. Best sister ever, I repeated. Because you are. I know I don't say it enough, but you really are the best. Always putting family first, always sacrificing for us. She hugged me tight. I'm so lucky to have you. I'm lucky to have you too. Over dinner, they regaled me with stories about the house, the marble countertops, the walk-in closets, the 3-car garage. You should see the master bathroom, Laurel gushed. It has a soaking tub and a separate shower with rainfall shower heads. Sounds expensive. Worth every penny, Dad said. Laurel deserves the best. She certainly does. After they went to bed, I sat in my kitchen with the keychain, turning it over in my hands. Best sister ever. I took a photo of it and texted it to Ronnie with a message. Guess what I got for helping destroy my own credit? Her response was immediate. Are you kidding me right now? Nope. Also, they want me to call the bank tomorrow to explain that I'm fine with the loan. Please tell me you're not actually considering that. Oh, I'm definitely calling the bank tomorrow. Good. Wait, why do I feel like there's more to this? I smiled, looking at the keychain one more time before dropping it in the trash. Because tomorrow, Laurel finds out what best sister ever really means. Laurel's engagement party was everything I'd expected. Overpriced catering, rented crystal, and enough flowers to stock a funeral home. The venue was some trendy rooftop place downtown that probably cost more than I made in 2 months. Cassandra! Peyton appeared at my elbow, looking genuinely happy to see me. "I'm so glad you came. Laurel wasn't sure you'd make it. Wouldn't miss it for the world. She's been so stressed about the house situation. Some mix-up with the bank." He lowered his voice. "Between you and me, I think she bit off more than she can chew with that place. It's massive. You've seen it. Just the photos. 8 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, that infinity pool." He shook his head. "I keep asking her how she qualified for that kind of mortgage on her salary, but she just says her family helped. Her family's very supportive. That's what she says, though I have to admit, I'm a little confused about the whole arrangement." Before I could respond, Laurel materialized in a cloud of expensive perfume and champagne bubbles. "Cass, you made it!" She air-kissed both my cheeks. "Isn't this amazing? Peyton's parents flew in from Seattle. His whole family is here. It's beautiful. Come on, I want you to meet everyone." She grabbed my arm. "This is my sister Cassandra. She's a nurse. She's been taking care of our parents since they fell on hard times. Isn't she just the sweetest?" The next hour was a parade of introductions and small talk. I smiled and nodded and played the role of the devoted sister while my phone recorded everything from my purse. "Cassandra's been such a lifesaver," Mom gushed to a group of Peyton's relatives. "When we lost our house, she immediately took us in, gave us her own bedroom." "How generous," Peyton's mother said. "She's always been the giver in the family," Dad added. "Never thinks of herself. Just last week she was saying how happy she was that we could help Laurel with her house." "Oh, that's wonderful. Family helping family." "Exactly," Dad beamed. "Cassandra's credit was just sitting there unused, so we figured why not put it to good use." Peyton's mother looked confused. "Her credit?" "Well, you know how these things work," Dad said quickly. "Family finances, everyone pitching in where they can." I excused myself to the bathroom, my phone burning a hole in my purse. In the mirror, I looked like someone playing dress-up, wearing a cocktail dress I'd bought for the occasion, smiling a smile that didn't reach my eyes. The bathroom door opened and Mom slipped in. "Cassandra, honey, we need to talk." "About what?" "About what you said to the bank today." I'd called Jose that morning to confirm the investigation was proceeding. "I didn't say anything to the bank. Don't lie to me. They called this afternoon. They're freezing the loan pending some kind of investigation. That sounds serious." "It is serious." Mom's voice cracked. "They're asking about forged signatures, about identity theft." "Identity theft? That's terrible. Cassandra, please, I know you're upset, but this will destroy us. All of us. How will it destroy you? If this goes to court, if there are criminal charges..." She started crying. "Your father could go to prison. I could go to prison. Is that what you want?" "What I want is for my family to stop stealing from me." "We weren't stealing. We were borrowing. Laurel was going to pay it back." "With what money? Her non-existent job. She'll figure something out. She always does." "Like she figured out how to forge my signature." Mom's face went white. "How did you..." "I know everything, Mom. I've known for weeks." The bathroom door burst open and Laurel stormed in, her face flushed with anger and champagne. "What did you do?" she hissed. "I protected myself." "You ruined everything. Peyton's family is here. Everyone's asking questions, and now the bank is treating me like a criminal." "Aren't you?" She slapped me, hard. The sound echoed off the bathroom tiles. 29 years, she spat. 29 years I've had to live in your shadow. Perfect Cassandra, responsible Cassandra, everyone's favourite daughter. Well, guess what? I finally found something I was better at than you. Identity theft? Getting what I deserve. That house, that life, Peyton. I earned all of it, and you're trying to take it away because you're jealous. I'm trying to take back what you stole. I didn't steal anything that you were using. You live like a nun, Cass. No boyfriend, no social life, no ambition beyond your little nursing job. At least I had dreams. Dreams that required destroying my credit. Your credit was wasted on you anyway. Mum stepped between us. Girls, please, people will hear. Let them hear, Laurel said. Let everyone know what kind of sister Cassandra really is. The kind who destroys her own family over money. The kind who won't let her family destroy her over money. It's too late, Laurel said, her voice dropping to a whisper. Even if you stop the house, even if you send Mom and Dad to prison, you'll never have a family again. Is that worth it? I looked at both of them, Mom with her tears and manipulation, Laurel with her rage and entitlement. These people who'd raised me to believe that family meant sacrifice, that love meant giving until it hurt. Yes, I said quietly. It's worth it. I walked out of the bathroom and straight to Peyton, who was standing by the bar looking confused and concerned. Peyton, can I talk to you privately? Of course. Is everything okay? Laurel seemed upset. I led him to a quiet corner of the rooftop. I need to tell you something about the house. What about it? It's not what you think. The mortgage isn't in Laurel's name. His face went pale. What do you mean? It's in mine. They forged my signature and used my credit without my permission. That's impossible. Laurel wouldn't. She would, and she did, and now she's facing fraud charges. Peyton stared at me for a long moment. You're serious. Completely serious. But why would she? Because she wanted to impress you. Because she thought you'd leave her if she couldn't afford the lifestyle you're used to. That's insane. I don't care about money. She does. He ran his hands through his hair. This explains so much. The evasive answers, the way she changed the subject whenever I asked about finances. I'm sorry to ruin your party. You didn't ruin anything. You probably saved me from making the biggest mistake of my life. Across the room I saw Laurel watching us, her face a mask of fury and desperation. She started walking toward us, but Dad caught her arm, pulling her back. What happens now? Peyton asked. Now the truth comes out, I said. And everyone faces the consequences of their choices, including you. I thought about my empty apartment, my destroyed family, my uncertain future. Especially me. The call came at 6 a.m. on Tuesday. Jose from the bank. Ms. Hunt, we've completed our preliminary forensic analysis. The signature discrepancies are conclusive, and the audio recordings you provided corroborate everything. We're moving forward with criminal referrals. Criminal referrals? Identity theft, fraud, forgery. The district attorney's office will be in touch. I wanted to give you a heads up before... My apartment door exploded open. Dad stormed in, still in his pajamas, his face purple with rage. What did you do? He roared. I held up a finger to Jose. I'll call you back. Don't you dare hang up on me, Dad snarled, lunging for my phone. I stepped back. Get out of my apartment. This is our home too. No, it's not. It's my apartment that I've been letting you stay in, and now I'm asking you to leave. Mum appeared in the doorway, clutching her robe. Cassandra, please. The police called. They want to talk to us. Good. You should talk to them. How could you do this to your own family? Dad's voice cracked. We raised you. We loved you. We sacrificed everything for you. You sacrificed everything for Laurel. I was just the bank account. That's not true, isn't it? When's the last time you asked how I was doing? When's the last time you cared about my dreams, my future, my happiness? We care. You care about what I can provide. My apartment, my money, my credit. But you've never cared about me. Mum started sobbing. We love you, Cassandra. You're our daughter. Then why did you steal from me? We were desperate. We made a mistake. You made a choice, multiple choices, for months. Dad stepped closer, his voice dropping to that dangerous tone I remembered from childhood. You think you're so smart, don't you? Recording us, running to the bank like some kind of victim. I am a victim. You're a spoiled brat who can't stand to see her sister happy. Her sister who stole my identity to buy a mansion. A mansion she deserved. Laurel has potential. She has dreams. She could have made something of herself if you hadn't sabotaged her. I didn't sabotage anything. I protected myself. You destroyed this family. No, Dad. You destroyed this family the moment you decided to forge my signature. My phone rang. Ronnie. Don't answer that, Dad warned. I answered it anyway. Hey, Ronnie. Cass, are you okay? I just heard... I'm fine. My parents are here having a discussion about consequences. Do you need me to come over? Dad grabbed for the phone again. I dodged him. Maybe. I'll call you back. If I don't hear from you in 10 minutes, I'm calling the cops. I hung up and faced my parents. You need to leave. Now. We're not going anywhere, Dad said. This is our home. No, it's not. And if you don't leave voluntarily, I'll call the police and have you removed. You wouldn't dare. I started dialing 911. Wait. Mum grabbed Dad's arm. Patrick, let's just go. Let's pack our things and find somewhere else to stay. We're not running away because our ungrateful daughter... We're leaving because we need to figure out what to do next. Mom's voice was firm. Fighting with Cassandra isn't going to help anything. Dad stared at me with pure hatred. This isn't over. Yes, it is. You think you've won something. You think destroying your family makes you strong. I think protecting myself makes me smart. You'll regret this. When you're old and alone, when you have nobody left who cares about you, you'll remember this moment. I'll remember the moment I finally stood up for myself. They packed in angry silence, throwing clothes into suitcases while muttering about betrayal and ingratitude. I sat at my kitchen table watching them dismantle the life they'd built in my space. Where will you go? I asked Mom as she folded her clothes. Your Aunt Linda's, probably, until we figure things out. What about the legal stuff? We'll get a lawyer, fight the charges. With what money? She didn't answer. Laurel arrived as they were loading the last suitcase into Dad's car. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. Cass, we need to talk. I don't think we do. Please, 5 minutes. I followed her to the parking lot where my parents were waiting by their car. I talked to Peyton, she said without preamble. Good. He broke up with me. I'm sorry. No, you're not. Her voice was flat, emotionless. You're glad. You've always been jealous of me. I've never been jealous of you, Laurel. I've been tired of cleaning up your messes. This wasn't a mess. This was my chance at happiness. Built on fraud. Built on family helping family. Family doesn't steal from each other. She laughed bitterly. Family doesn't destroy each other either, but here we are. You destroyed yourself. I destroyed myself? You're the one who went to the police. You're the one who committed crimes. For love. I did it for love. You did it for money and status and because you thought you deserved something you hadn't earned. And what do you deserve, Cass? What has all your righteousness gotten you? I looked around at my parents glaring at me from their car, at my sister who'd never take responsibility for her actions, at the wreckage of relationships I'd spent my whole life trying to preserve. Peace, I said finally. It's gotten me peace. Enjoy your peace, Laurel said. Enjoy it all alone. They drove away without looking back. I stood in the parking lot for a long time, watching their taillights disappear into traffic. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Patrick. You've made a terrible mistake. We'll be in touch. I screenshotted the message and forwarded it to Jose and Ronnie. Then I went upstairs to my apartment, my quiet, empty, peaceful apartment, and started planning my new life. A life where I came first, for once. The confrontation came 3 days later at the hospital. I was coming off a 12-hour shift when I saw Dad waiting by my car in the parking garage. We need to talk, he said, stepping out of the shadows. I have nothing to say to you. Well, I have plenty to say to you, his voice echoed off the concrete walls. You want to play hardball? Fine, let's play. I kept walking toward my car, keys ready. Move away from my vehicle. Or what? You'll call the cops? Add harassment to the list of charges against your dear old dad? If I have to. He laughed, but there was no humour in it. You know what's funny? I actually thought you had some backbone for once. Turns out you're just vindictive. I'm protecting myself. You're destroying innocent people. Innocent? I stopped walking. You forged my signature. You stole my identity. You committed multiple felonies. What part of that is innocent? The part where we did it for family. You did it for Laurel. You've always done everything for Laurel. Because Laurel has potential. Laurel could have made something of herself. And I couldn't. Look at you, Cassandra. 30 years old, no husband, no kids, living in a shoebox apartment, working a job that barely pays the bills. What kind of life is that? It's my life, and it was fine until you decided to steal it. We were trying to help you have a purpose, give your life meaning, by destroying my credit and sticking me with debt I can't afford. By making you part of something bigger than yourself. I stared at him. You really believe that, don't you? You actually think you were doing me a favour. I think we were being a family, but you wouldn't understand that. You've always been selfish. Selfish? I gave you my bedroom. I worked extra shifts to pay for your food, your clothes, your comfort. I sacrificed everything for you, and we were grateful. But gratitude doesn't pay for Laurel's future. Neither does identity theft. It would have if you hadn't interfered. My phone rang. Jose from the bank. Don't answer that, Dad warned. I answered it anyway. Hi, Jose. Ms. Hunt, I'm calling to let you know that law enforcement is ready to make arrests. They'll be moving forward tomorrow morning. Dad stepped closer, trying to hear the conversation. That's good news, I said. There's something else. Your father has been calling the bank, claiming you're mentally unstable and that the recordings were fabricated. He what? He's trying to discredit your testimony. He's also claiming that you gave permission for the loan and are now having regrets. Dad was close enough now to hear Jose's voice. That's interesting, I said, because I have him on recording making those exact claims. Dad's face went white. You're recording this conversation? Jose asked. I'm recording everything now, for my own protection. Smart. I'll make sure the investigators know about these latest developments. I hung up and looked at Dad. Mentally unstable? Really? You are unstable. Look what you're doing to your own family. I'm holding my family accountable for their crimes. We're not criminals, Cassandra. We're desperate parents who made a mistake. A mistake that you've been covering up and lying about for months. Because we knew you'd overreact, just like you're doing now. Overreact. You stole my identity. We used your credit to help your sister. There's a difference. Not legally, there isn't. Legally doesn't matter. Family matters. Blood matters. Then why didn't my blood matter when you were forging my signature? He stepped even closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. You want to know why? Because you're not really family, Cassandra. You're just the responsible one. The one who pays the bills and cleans up the messes and never asks for anything in return. You're right, I never asked for anything, but I'm asking now. Asking for what? Justice. Justice? He laughed. You want justice? Fine. But remember this conversation when you're sitting alone in your empty apartment, wondering why nobody loves you anymore. At least I'll know they never really loved me to begin with. We did love you. We do love you. No, you love what I could provide. There's a difference. A security guard appeared at the end of the parking garage. Everything okay here? Fine, Dad called out. Just a family discussion. The guard looked at me. Mom? Actually, no. This man is harassing me. I'd like him to leave. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to move along. Dad stared at me with pure hatred. This isn't over, Cassandra. Yes, it is. You think the police scare me? You think a few charges will stop me from protecting my family? I think you should be more worried about protecting yourself. From what? I held up my phone, still recording. From yourself. The security guard stepped forward. "Sir, you need to leave now." Dad looked between me and the guard, his hands clenched into fists. For a moment I thought he might actually hit me. Instead, he leaned close and whispered, "You'll regret this for the rest of your life." "The only thing I regret is waiting so long to stand up to you." He walked away without another word, his footsteps echoing through the garage. The security guard waited until Dad's car disappeared before turning to me. "You want me to file a report?" "No, but thank you, I've got everything documented." "You sure you're safe?" I looked at my phone, at the recording that would be evidence, at the trail of documentation I'd been building for weeks. "I'm sure." But as I drove home, I couldn't shake the feeling that Dad was right about one thing. This wasn't over. Not yet. The arrests happened on a Thursday morning. I was at work when Ronnie called. "It's done," she said. "They picked up your parents at your aunt's house an hour ago." Laurel turned herself in with a lawyer. I sat down heavily in the break room chair. "How do you know all this?" "Jose called me. Figured you'd want to hear it from a friend first." "What are the charges?" "Identity theft, fraud, forgery, conspiracy. Your dad's looking at the most time since he was the ringleader." My supervisor, Fatima, poked her head into the break room. "Cassandra, there's someone here to see you." I followed her to the lobby where Peyton was waiting, looking exhausted and older than his 36 years. "I'm sorry to bother you at work," he said. "I just wanted to thank you." "Thank me?" "For telling me the truth. I know it couldn't have been easy." "It wasn't." "I've been thinking about what you said, about Laurel thinking I'd leave her if she couldn't afford the right lifestyle." He shook his head. "The crazy thing is, I would have married her in a cardboard box. I loved her." Loved? Past tense. Hard to love someone when you realize they're willing to destroy their own sister for a house. "I'm sorry it ended this way." "I'm not. Better to find out now than after we were married." He handed me an envelope. "This is for you." "What is it?" "Laurel asked me to give it to you. She wrote it before she turned herself in." I took the envelope but didn't open it. "How is she?" "Scared, angry, still blaming everyone but herself." He paused. "She keeps saying you'll forgive her eventually. That family always forgives family." "She's wrong. I figured. That's why I wanted to thank you. You saved me from a lifetime of being married to someone who thinks love means never facing consequences." After he left, I sat in my car and opened Laurel's letter. "Cass, I know you hate me right now, but I need you to understand something. I never meant for it to go this far. When Mom and Dad first suggested using your credit, I said no. But then Peyton started talking about the future, about the kind of life he wanted, and I panicked. I've always been the pretty one, the fun one, the one everyone liked better. But you were the smart one, the responsible one, the one who had her life together. For once, I wanted to be the successful one too. I know that doesn't excuse what we did. I know sorry doesn't fix your credit or give you back the money or undo the betrayal. But I am sorry, Cass. I'm sorry I was so selfish. I'm sorry I let Mom and Dad convince me that you owed us this. I'm sorry I never appreciated everything you sacrificed for our family. I don't expect you to forgive me. I probably wouldn't forgive me either. But I wanted you to know that losing you hurts worse than losing the house, worse than losing Peyton, worse than facing jail time. You were the best sister I never deserved. Laurel." I folded the letter and put it back in the envelope. Then I drove to the police station. Detective Martinez was handling the case. She was a no-nonsense woman in her 40s who looked like she'd seen every kind of family drama imaginable. "Ms. Hunt, good to see you. We have everything we need for prosecution thanks to your recordings." "What kind of sentences are they looking at? Your father could get 5 to 7 years. Your mother, maybe 3 to 5 since she was more of a follower. Your sister might get probation and restitution since she cooperated. And my credit? The bank is working on restoration. It'll take time, But you won't be responsible for the fraudulent debt. What about the house? Foreclosure proceedings have already started. Any equity will go toward restitution, but there won't be much after legal fees. I nodded. There's something else. I want to make a victim impact statement. Of course, the sentencing hearing is in 6 weeks. I'll be there. The courtroom was packed on sentencing day. Aunt Linda was there, some cousins I barely knew, a few family friends. They all looked at me like I was the villain in this story. When it was my turn to speak, I walked to the podium and looked at my parents sitting at the defendant's table. Dad stared straight ahead, refusing to meet my eyes. Mum was crying silently. Your Honour, for 30 years, I believed that family meant sacrifice, that love meant giving, until it hurt. That being a good daughter meant putting everyone else's needs before my own. I looked at Laurel in the gallery. She was crying too. I worked double shifts to support my parents when they lost their home. I gave up my bedroom, my privacy, my savings. I did it gladly because I thought that's what family meant. Dad finally looked at me, his expression unreadable. But family isn't supposed to steal from each other. Love isn't supposed to destroy the person who gives it. And sacrifice isn't supposed to be one-sided. Mum's crying got louder. The defendants didn't just steal my identity. They stole my trust, my sense of security, my belief in the people who raised me. They gambled with my future for my sister's mansion. I took a breath. I don't want revenge, Your Honour. I want accountability. I want them to understand that actions have consequences, even when they're committed by family, especially when they're committed by family. I sat down. The judge sentenced Dad to 4 years, Mum to 2 years suspended with probation, and Laurel to community service and restitution. As they led Dad away in handcuffs, he finally looked at me. I hope it was worth it, he said. It was, I replied. Outside the courthouse, Ronnie was waiting. How do you feel? She asked. Free. Any regrets? I thought about the letter in my purse, about the family I'd lost, about the years of manipulation and guilt that were finally over. Just one. What's that? That it took me 30 years to realize I was worth protecting. We walked to her car together, leaving the courthouse and my old life behind. So, what now? Ronnie asked. Now I figure out who I am when I'm not busy being everyone else's doormat. Any ideas? I smiled, feeling lighter than I had in years. I'm thinking I might start with getting my bedroom back. For the first time in my life, I was putting myself first, and it felt amazing.
My name is Karen, and I'm 25 years old. 6 months ago, my grandfather, who raised me, passed away. Today, the lawyer will open his will. I was visiting my grandfather's house with my sister, Susan, who is 4 years older and my only family. Our parents died in an accident 20 years ago, and since then, our grandparents raised us. After my grandmother passed away from an illness a few years ago, my grandfather's spirits declined year by year, and he frequently fell ill. Concerned, I lived in an apartment near his house and often checked on him. You're a grown woman. It's unbecoming to keep coming back home, my grandfather would say, but he always laughed cheerfully nonetheless. Then one day, as I visited like I usually did, I found him lying in pain at the entrance. Panicked, I called the ambulance, but my grandfather passed away just like that. Hey, what are you daydreaming about? At least prepare some tea. My sister's voice brought me back to reality. Right, the lawyer will be here soon, I responded. Heading to the kitchen, I saw Susan lazily stretching out her legs on the mat and yawning. I could still smell her strong perfume even in the kitchen, a bit away, and I made a face. She's the same as always, I murmured, placing the kettle on the stove. Susan had always cared only about herself. Once she hit her teens, she started dyeing her hair and hanging out with delinquents, always demanding money without working. even when she caused trouble and our grandparents had to apologize on her behalf. She was unperturbed. I, being the quiet one, often dealt with the fallout. She hadn't changed much even as an adult, drifting around with unstable jobs. I knew she had been asking our grandfather for money whenever I wasn't around. It was easy to imagine she would find this all too troublesome if it weren't for the inheritance. "Ah, you must be the lawyer. Thanks for coming today." I heard Susan's high-pitched formal voice, indicating the lawyer had arrived. I hurriedly placed tea leaves into the teapot and headed toward the entrance. "Thank you for coming today." I had met the lawyer at the funeral. His eyes were as kind as my grandfather's, and a lawyer's badge shone brightly on his chest. After offering incense in front of my grandfather's portrait, he took a sip of the tea I served and then took out my grandfather's will. It had been entrusted to him while my grandfather was still alive. The content was as follows: my elder sister Susan was to inherit $20 million in cash, and I, the younger daughter, was to inherit the house and the land it sits on. Upon hearing this, Susan burst out laughing. $20 million in cash for the elder daughter and only an old house for the younger one? How hilarious! It's just right for someone as plain as you. It's not just the house, there's also the land, I retorted. Susan laughed snidely. The value of this land in such a godforsaken place is hardly surprising. I would have preferred cash. I guess Grandpa must have had a soft spot for me after all. I can't deny that I was a bit shocked. I suppose my grandfather wanted me to protect his beloved house and land where he spent his life with my grandmother. A house and land, that's pretty awesome, isn't it? Brian, my boyfriend, exclaimed in surprise after hearing my story. I shook my head, implying it wasn't as great as it sounded. Not really. My sister inherited $20 million in cash. That's more impressive. Saying it out loud, I felt a sense of emptiness, even though I was being modest. Verbalizing it felt like an acknowledgement. Wow, beautiful and rich. She's got the better deal, Brian said insensitively. Realizing his gaffe, he quickly added, "Your comfort means more to me than money, Karen." Brian has been my boyfriend since I started working. We met at a social event, and being of the same age, we clicked well. I introduced him to my grandfather and my sister. While he hasn't proposed yet, I have been considering marriage. Today was our first date in a while, and I ended up telling Brian about my inheritance. I suppose it was because I thought he would become my husband someday. Little did I know I would come to regret this. A few days later, I visited the family home I had inherited from my grandfather. I intended to clean and sort out his belongings. The property was large, but the house was modest. I figured I could manage it on my own. As I looked around the house, I pondered. It's close to my workplace. Maybe I should move here. Living here leisurely with a cat doesn't sound too bad. There would be no rent to pay, and while there might be maintenance costs, I've been working hard and saving, so it shouldn't be a problem. Maybe someday with Brian. Feeling embarrassed at the thought, I shook my head vigorously and rolled up my sleeves to begin cleaning. Just then, I received a call. My sister's name appeared on my smartphone screen. "Sis, what's up?" "Hey, Karen, having fun all by yourself in that old house?" My sister seemed to be drunk. She always had a unique way of extending her words, but today it was particularly bad. "Are you drinking? It's still afternoon," I pointed out with a sigh. "Oh, you're such a goody two-shoes." She sighed exaggeratedly. She had definitely been drinking. "I was thinking about moving here eventually," I answered, hoping to end the conversation quickly. "Really? I'm enjoying a suite in a luxury hotel right now," my sister said, raising her voice in a somewhat exaggerated way. "Guess who I'm with right now?" "I have no idea." "Boring. It's that kind of attitude that'll make Brian dislike you," she taunted. "I'm sorry, Karen." I was flabbergasted when Brian's voice took over the line. The sudden intervention threw me off balance, dizzying question marks popping up in my head, but I pushed away my imagination, though a disgusting scenario had already formed in my mind. Surprised. Huh? My sister's mean-spirited voice chimed in. Ever since I introduced him to her, she had found Brian quite a catch. She boasted about how she had been attracted to him since then, knew where he worked because of me, and approached him as soon as he left work. He came along readily when she asked, telling her she was hundreds of times more attractive than me. I listened in stunned silence. Karen, I'm really sorry. Brian's voice again. Tell me it's a mistake, I tried to say, but the words wouldn't come. As a man, I had to take this opportunity. What? I do feel bad about it, but come on, it's impossible to resist a beautiful woman who has $20 million, right? The way he spoke, as if asking me to understand, drained my emotions. I felt a cold sensation like my blood was being drained from me. You know what? I don't need a man like you. I could hear my sister laughing uproariously in the background. The voice on the phone changed back to her. Well, that's how it is. From now on, let's not consider ourselves sisters, okay? I wouldn't want you turning to me just because you're broke. With those words, she ended the call, overwhelmed by emotions that had lagged behind. All I could do was cry out. 5 years have passed since then. I had a cat in my lap, dozing off in front of my laptop. The cat purred contentedly in its sleep. Today was my day off, but I still had a bit of work I brought home. Oh no, this won't get the work done, I said, feeling guilty but having to move the cat off my lap. Just as I reached out, my phone started to ring. An unfamiliar number was displayed. Thinking it could be work-related, I answered the call without any suspicion. Hello? Karen, long time no see. I instantly knew who it was and froze. The distinctive way of speaking was unmistakably my sister's. It's you, Karen, isn't it? I can tell just from your initial hello. After all, I'm your big sister. 5 years had passed, making Susan 34. A smirk formed at the corner of my mouth at her unchanging way of talking. You're just the same. By the way, I came home and there's a hotel standing. Did you sell the house? That's none of your business. Oh, come on, it's quite a grand hotel. Huh, you must have made a good chunk of change. Huh? Getting fed up, I was about to end the call when she started to chatter about her current situation. According to Susan, she had blown through the inheritance in about 2 years. Now she even had a considerable amount of debt. Even Brian, who she's still hanging around with, seemed to be drowning in debt. I was speechless. Honestly, I couldn't care less. So, lend me some money, Susan yelled. I've always wondered why Grandpa distributed his estate that way, I answered calmly. But on the day you took Brian from me and cut ties, I understood. I started talking slowly, recalling the events of 5 years ago. When Brian broke up with me, I was crushed. After crying my heart out, I sat dazed in my room, staring into space. I'm such a fool, I murmured, as large tears began to spill again. My gaze fell on a painting I had made as a child and had gifted to my grandfather. He had framed it and kept it hanging lovingly. Rising unsteadily, I picked up the painting. Grandpa. Nostalgia and loneliness welled up, and tears started to come again. Suddenly, something dropped from the back of the frame. Picking it up, I saw it was a fresh sheet of notepaper addressed to me. I remembered how, when I was little, I used to stick notes on the back of this frame and exchange secret messages with my grandfather. It was like a family journal. Knowing that I was to inherit the house, he probably figured I'd find this note. I'm glad I noticed. I shuddered at the thought that I might have missed it. The letter was dated just before my grandfather passed. To Karen. I knew you'd definitely notice this letter. Right now, you're probably wondering why I distributed my estate in such a manner, cash to your sister and an old house and land for you. It may seem like I favored Susan, but that's not the case. Despite any claims of favoritism, I wanted to leave most of my estate to you, who cared for me till the end. I finally understood what had been bothering me. No matter what, Grandpa thought more of me. I was deeply hurt by Susan's words at that time. Despite having loved my grandfather more, a kind of jealousy. I continued to read the letter. But Susan would not be satisfied with a regular division, even as her grandfather. I must admit she's terribly greedy. Exactly, Grandpa, I thought. She even took my boyfriend from me. That's what I wanted to tell him in my heart. That's why I arranged it this way. If at first glance Susan appears to have received the better deal, she won't pay attention to your share. The value of this land in our area is continuously increasing due to ongoing urban development. As of the time I'm writing this, it's not worth Susan's $20 million yet, but the value will surely increase in the future. You can live here if you're attached to it or sell it when its value rises enough to make a good profit. All I want is for you to be happy. When I finished conveying the contents of the letter, Susan clicked her tongue and said, "Hag. I lived in that house for a while, but when my marriage was settled, I decided to sell the house. Just like grandfather's letter said, the land value had risen enough anyway. I'm never lending you money." Susan seemed frustrated, but, as if she had a good idea, she said, "Right. If you want, I can give Brian back to you. So help your sister. It's a good deal, right?" At that moment, I felt something snap inside me. Enough is enough. You've been taken care of by Grandpa, and yet you haven't shown a hint of gratitude. I despise you for that, and you're not my sister anymore. Besides, I'm already married. I don't need Brian, and I don't even want to see his face. Stay out of my life for good. I said what I needed to say and hung up. I quickly set up call blocking. My cat, who had been cowering on the bed, looked up at me with wide eyes. I quickly picked up my cat and said, "I'm sorry." After that, it seems Susan contacted Brian, and they both stormed into our old house. Did they try to return Brian to me? There's a respectable in there now. But they must have misunderstood something and were shouting that they were my relatives, even though I had sold the land and had nothing to do with it. It's simple for those two. They thought, Karen sold the land and an inn was built. She must be the owner. Of course, the staff reported them to the police. The two of them were arrested because they had destroyed several items in the inn. Furthermore, it was discovered that they had been committing marriage fraud for money in the past. It seems they'll be sent to prison together. I was also questioned by the police, but I was able to prove that I had no involvement quickly, as we were estranged, and I was released. As my husband, who came to pick me up, and I were walking through the station, we heard screaming and turned our gaze. There were Susan and Brian, looking completely different. Fortunately, they didn't notice us. Both of them had messy hair, worn-out clothes, and looked nothing like the two people I remembered. Especially Susan, who never skipped her makeup and fashion, looked even more different. They were probably being moved to a different location. As I watched the two of them, filled with a sense of melancholy, my husband and I locked eyes. I grabbed the hand he extended, and we left the police station. "Are you okay?" My husband, always concerned, looked at me with gentle eyes. "I'm okay. I have you and this little one," I said, touching my fairly noticeable belly and smiling back. In my belly, a new member of our family was growing. Money is important, but there's something even more valuable. That's what I want to teach our child, with my husband by my side. Emily sneered at me and said, "Thanks for quitting." I met her gaze. silently staring back without a word. It's about cutting labor costs. We don't need a hag who exploits overtime pay at our company, she added, clearly pleased with herself. Tom seemed satisfied, too. A week later, I received a call from the company. As soon as I picked up, the president's voice came through the line. "Who exactly are you?" he demanded. I laughed mockingly at his words. "I'm Lily Johnson," I replied. "I turned 59 this year and have been working at this company for 37 years since graduating from college. Our company employs administrative scriveners, social insurance labor consultants, and tax accountants to handle clerical work for our clients. This is particularly popular with company presidents who run their businesses alone and lack time for administrative tasks. We take care of those tasks for them." I worked in the tax department. I had earned my bookkeeping and tax accountant qualifications during college, which is why I joined the company in the first place. Currently, I manage 45 clients, which keeps me extremely busy. Although a part-timer helps with the accounting entries, the workload is still overwhelming. However, I refuse to show any weakness. Our clients have been with us for a long time, and many have faced their fair share of hardships. Seeing them deal with adversity motivates me not to give up. So, here I am, sitting in front of my computer again today. Lately, I've been troubled. Tom and Emily have been subjecting me to insidious harassment. Tom, who is 7 years younger than me, is the head of the tax department. He used to be just a regular colleague, but his attitude changed drastically 3 months ago when he got promoted. He used to speak politely, but suddenly, he started talking down to me. "Lily, what are you doing? You've got some nerve slacking off during work hours," he'd say, always either sarcastic or complaining. "I'm looking at documents for tax-saving strategies for our clients," I would retort, but Tom remained unfazed. "Just check the manual for that. Don't do anything unnecessary. And if you end up working overtime, don't expect to get paid for it." Tom glared at me, his words filled with disdain. Unable to respond, I turned to Emily, Tom's assistant. She chimed in, "Lily, you should work more efficiently. At this rate, you'll never finish. That's why you're still a rank-and-file employee." Emily laughed mockingly. I was the first to be offered the promotion to department head, but I declined at the time. Taking the head position meant more management responsibilities and less interaction with clients. However, this was an internal offer, so Tom and Emily don't know about it. "I'll make sure to complete my regular duties as well," was all I could manage to say. Still, Tom and Emily's harassment continued. "You're increasing overtime again? What a waste." Tom's angry voice echoed through the office. "Lily, cut it out. Your constant overtime is dragging down the whole tax department's performance." Emily sighed. The reason for yesterday's overtime was simple. Tom had accumulated a month's worth of declaration forms that needed to be filed by the end of the month. After work yesterday, Tom suddenly said, "Take care of these," and left several client files on my desk. I turned pale when I saw the files. "Wait, these all have deadlines this month, right?" I asked, confused. By then, Tom was already nowhere near. Looking for him, I saw he was already packing up at his desk. "I'm heading out. Take care," he said and quickly left the office. "Good luck." Emily followed Tom out, laughing mockingly. Unbelievable. I sighed and opened the client files left on my desk. Moreover, some of the files were Emily's responsibility. I sighed even deeper. I knew why Tom was harassing me. They wanted me to retire quickly. I have more experience and deeper knowledge of taxation than he does. So other members of the tax department come to me with their questions instead of Tom. There are other reasons why everyone avoids Tom. He looks greasy and unapproachable, and the only female employee who stays near him is Emily. Tom likes young women, which is probably why he wants me to retire, so the other female employees will rely on him more. It's such shallow thinking. It gives me chills. There's also the fact that he simply doesn't like me. Emily was harassing me to curry favor with Tom. Tom evaluates the performance of the tax department, so she probably wanted to undermine me to get a good evaluation from him. Anyway, I have to manage these declarations. Not only do I have to prepare the tax declarations for my assigned companies, but it looks like I won't be able to finish today's work either. But if I try to claim overtime, I resigned myself to the prospect of unpaid overtime, knowing I'd only get complaints from Tom and Emily. Then, one day, I was suddenly called into the president's office. Our company had just undergone a change in leadership. The president's father, who had managed the company since its founding, had recently fallen ill and handed it over to his son. The new president had worked elsewhere and wasn't fully familiar with our operations yet, but he had little choice in the matter. "Excuse me," I said as I entered the president's office. I noticed Tom and Emily were already there, both with unpleasant smirks on their faces. "Why are Tom and Emily here?" I muttered quietly to myself. In this tense and strange atmosphere, the president spoke. "Lily, we'll need you to resign by the end of this month." "Excuse me? What do you mean?" I asked, my mind spinning. "I've heard from Tom and Emily that you've been overbilling for overtime," the president explained. "Other members of the tax department only have about 15 hours of overtime per month, but you're already over 80 hours. Don't you find that odd? Tom and Emily have 0 overtime this month. Impressive, right?" He looked at me sternly. The reason my overtime was so high this month was that I was doing Tom and Emily's work. But if I said it was Tom's instructions, it would make me seem incapable of managing my own time, so I just stated the facts. I haven't overbilled for overtime. It's a result of not being able to finish my work within regular hours. The president sighed deeply. "I'm doubtful, but there's no evidence, so I won't pursue it further. However, we can't continue to employ someone who works that slowly, so I want you to resign." The president seemed to have made up his mind. I was being asked to leave the company I had dedicated my entire 37-year career to. I felt exhausted. No matter how much extra work I did, it was never appreciated. Instead, I ended up taking on Tom and Emily's tasks as well. "Yes, I understand. I'll resign at the end of this month," I found myself saying to the president. I glanced at Tom and Emily, who were smiling smugly, clearly pleased with the outcome. After leaving the president's office, Emily looked at me and said, "Thanks for quitting," sneering as she met my gaze. I silently stared back at her. Tom gave me the same condescending look. "We're cutting labor costs. We don't need a hag who exploits overtime pay at our company," he added, clearly pleased with himself. While watching the two of them chatter cheerily, I thought about the handover process and began creating the handover documents for all my clients. Of course, I didn't miss saying goodbye to the people I was handing over to. For the clients I couldn't meet in person, I sent letters informing them of my successor. A week after I resigned, I was finally relaxing at home. I had been busy with the handover until my last day and had been extremely busy even before that. A little relaxation seemed well-deserved. Just as I was thinking this, my mobile phone rang. The call was from the company. What could they want now? I made sure to take care of the social insurance procedures. I didn't answer the phone initially, but then the company called several more times. In fact, I had also received several calls from Tom and Emily's personal mobile phones. Perhaps they thought I'd answer if the call came directly from them. Reluctantly, I decided to pick up. "Hello? Lily, it's a mess right now." As soon as I answered, the president's voice came through. "Who exactly are you?" I laughed mockingly at his words. "Who am I? Just an unemployed lady. I've resigned from the company, and I'm nothing else right now." The president spoke urgently. Since you left, we've had 49 calls to stop transactions with the company. Please come back immediately. He finished speaking and hung up. He must be really panicked. I guess I have no choice. I got up reluctantly and headed to the company. As soon as I arrived, I saw Tom and Emily waiting. Their faces were pale, and they both had dark circles under their eyes. "What's wrong with both of you?" I asked, surprised at their drastic change in appearance. Tom glared at me. "Since you left, we've been getting calls one after another to stop transactions, not just from your clients, but from prospective companies we were planning to introduce. What did you do?" Emily looked at me with suspicion. "I never thought Lily would do something so underhanded. I'm truly disillusioned." The reason they both looked so haggard was probably due to dealing with all the cancellations. Of course, I hadn't done anything to the clients, but I had a guess why they were canceling their transactions. "Well, the cancellations might be unavoidable this time," I muttered. Tom yelled, "So you did do something, didn't you? Get to the president's office now." He took me to the president's office. "President, I brought her," Tom declared forcefully as he opened the door. Emily followed quickly behind him. "Oh, I've been waiting," the president said, looking me in the eyes. Tom accused me as if I were the culprit. "It appears that Lily was involved in the cessation of transactions with our clients. We should not only make her resign but also sue her for damages," Emily argued vehemently, though she spoke carefully in front of the president. Ignoring them, the president turned to me and asked, "Why did so many companies stop doing business with us after Lily left?" The president looked at me intently, waiting for an explanation. I took a deep breath and answered clearly, "Don't you understand? Our clients didn't need us just to manage their taxes. There are plenty of tax accountant firms that do it cheaper. They stayed with us because I was here." Tom snapped at me. "What's with that attitude towards the president? You think you're worth that much?" Emily taunted. "There's no way it's because of Lily." The president looked serious as I explained. "Tom and Emily work based on the manual, optimizing operations, but I do more than that. I offer tax-saving strategies tailored to each client's situation. Uniform responses don't always serve the client's best interests. Many clients preferred my approach and stayed because of it." Tom was furious. "How can we afford to give such detailed attention to each case? It takes too much time." "That's right. It's inefficient," Emily agreed emphatically. The president sighed deeply and said, "Actually, I just got a call from my dad, the former president. Some of the clients who stopped transactions contacted him directly to discuss the situation with Lily." I was surprised to hear this. I hadn't expected the clients to go that far for me. Dad said that the tax department was viable because of Lily. She not only managed her clients but also supported her colleagues' clients. She has knowledge that Tom can't match. Dad also mentioned that if Lily hadn't declined, she would have been in a higher position than department head by now. The president spoke with a pained expression. "No, no way," Emily said, looking shocked. She probably couldn't believe that I might have been her boss. The president continued, "I'm really sorry for asking you to resign, but can we revoke your resignation? Lily, you're needed at our company." My father also insisted strongly. I was honestly happy about the president's change of heart, but I couldn't accept his offer immediately. Then Tom interrupted our conversation. "President, what do you mean she's better than me? I can't accept this." Tom was visibly upset. Emily protested as well. "Tom is a wonderful boss who cares for his subordinates, and yet you choose Lily over him? That's unacceptable." The president looked sternly at them. "Actually, since Lily resigned, we've received numerous complaints from the tax department. You two seem to have been pushing your work onto others, haven't you?" "What? Why would you? Tom's face turned pale. The president continued with a look of disgust. I've heard from the employees that you, Tom, have been assigning your client declaration forms to your subordinates, including Emily's work for many clients. Standing next to Tom, who was getting paler, Emily trembled as her name was mentioned. There was also a report that you've been pushing your work onto Lily until she resigned. You were calling her a salary thief, but it seems the roles were reversed, weren't they? The president sighed. No, that's not. Tom was visibly flustered, unable to come up with an excuse. Observing Tom and Emily turning pale together, the president continued. Also, there was a report that you two are in a relationship. You were often seen leaving work together. But, Tom, you're married, aren't you? The president glared at Tom and Emily. I was just mentoring Emily as her superior. Nothing inappropriate. Tom struggled to find the words. The president produced several receipts. These are receipts questioned by the accounting department. These dining expenses filed by Tom, who were they with? Certainly not clients, right? Tom was sweating profusely, unable to speak. Emily's face turned ghostly pale. Tom and Emily, you've neglected your duty and inflated expense claims. Plus, you're having an affair in the office despite being married. According to company policy, I'm terminating your employment as of today, the president told them calmly and straightforwardly. Tom and Emily tried to resist. Please wait. I'll retract the receipt claims. Just don't fire me. I have a family, Tom pleaded desperately. Emily did the same. Please. I don't want to be fired. I'll apologize to Lily and the others for offloading work on them. She was on the verge of tears, realizing the severity of being fired for neglecting work and having an affair with a supervisor. She must have been worried about her reputation. I advised them, why don't you just stop resisting? It's undignified. Tom glared at me. Shut up. What would a single person like you understand? I sighed and replied, Tom, you were the one who got me fired. It's just karma, what goes around comes around. Why don't you take some responsibility and reflect a bit? Damn it. Tom looked frustrated, and Emily bit her lip. And I haven't reported this yet. But there's more to Tom and Emily's misconduct. Should I share more details? I asked the president with a smile. Tom and Emily's behavior was well known in the tax department. Their stories had reached me, whether I liked it or not. No, please don't. Lily, stop. They both pleaded frantically, trying to stop me. I gave them an ultimatum. Wrongdoings eventually come to light. It would be better for you to face reality before it gets worse. At my words, both of them collapsed to their knees. Ultimately, Tom and Emily were fired on the spot. I revealed their misdeeds afterward, which included Tom faking business trips to spend time with Emily and harassing employees they disliked into quitting. I tried to help those employees, but Tom and Emily's tactics were insidious. They repeatedly reprimanded and pressured employees out of my sight. It was also common for them to suddenly assign work with tight deadlines. The employees who resigned had asked me to keep quiet, but now they are happily working at other companies, so I decided it was okay to speak up. The president was furious at my revelation. He expressed his anger about cutting their final salaries and planned to thoroughly investigate past inflated expense claims. Tom was begging the president, tears in his eyes, please don't cut my salary. What will I tell my family if they find out? Eventually, Tom and Emily's affair was exposed to Tom's wife, and he ended up getting divorced. The two are now facing claims for compensation in the divorce lawsuit. I know this because, for some reason, Tom contacted me. Please, can you persuade the president to reconsider the firing? Emily and I are in a real bind now. Apparently, Tom and Emily are struggling to find new jobs. The tax industry is somewhat insular. And if you commit too many misdeeds, word spreads quickly through the industry's network. That's why no one is willing to hire them. However, they need money for divorce compensation and living expenses, so now they're working day labor jobs. Like at construction sites, people used to office work suddenly doing hard labor outdoors must be tough. Emily often calls me crying, "Lily, please help. I just wanted a raise and a better life. I never really liked Tom, and this situation is unbearable," Emily would say, crying. However, Tom and Emily's predicament is their own doing. Many people, including myself, have been victims of their actions. So I told Emily, "This is all your own fault. Emily, you can't unring a bell. It will be hard to return to the same path. You're just going to have to deal with the hardships." "No way," Emily cried out in despair. This was the outcome of Emily's actions. I hope she continues to regret her actions in the future. As for me, I'm still enjoying a relaxed lifestyle away from work. The president has been begging me to return, but I have declined. After being told once to resign, I don't think I'll go back. Sometimes I help out at a friend's tax office to earn a bit of money. Maybe once things settle down, I'll start my own office like my friend. In my own office, no one can complain about my working style. I can fully dedicate myself to my clients. As a tax accountant, I want to be on equal footing with my clients, not as a teacher but as part of the service industry. My second life has just begun, and I'm looking forward to delving into what I want to do next. Sometimes, it's better to let life take care of things for you. My sister stole my fiancé 15 years ago, and now she's trying to set me up with her husband because her marriage is falling apart. This story is about my sister, Samantha. I'm using her real name because it doesn't really matter. Samantha took my fiancé because she thought he deserved someone more attractive and richer than me. So, she went after him, and he ended up marrying her. But that's fine because I got rid of someone who wasn't right for me and found someone who truly deserves me. Let me explain everything from the start. This happened 15 years ago when I was in my mid-20s. My name is Olivia Parker, and I'm 41 now. I work as a doctor at a busy hospital and have always cared deeply for my patients. Samantha is 6 years younger than me and has a very different personality. She's always been the center of attention at family and social events and made sure to stay that way since we were kids. She's very pretty and knows it, often showing off her looks and looking down on people who don't meet her beauty standards. Like me, she was always critical of my style and teased me for not being social. As a kid, I was more focused on my studies and enjoyed reading books and comics rather than playing with dolls or wearing makeup. I didn't even have a Barbie. Samantha and I didn't have a close sisterly relationship. She saw herself as a fashion expert, while I was just plain and simple, which she often pointed out. I didn't have flashy tastes or seek attention. I'm calm, like to keep to myself, and prefer a quiet life. After high school, I was happy to move out and away from her. Who wants to be around someone so spoiled? Medical school kept me busy, and I only visited home during holidays or breaks, keeping the visits short. Samantha and I had minimal interactions, so things were manageable. She dropped out of high school to chase a career in fashion, and later left fashion school to try modeling. During the time I stayed in touch with her, she only got a couple of small modeling jobs over 5 years. She likes to call it a successful career, but it's not really impressive. If you think I'm being harsh, just wait. Once I moved out, the tension between us eased. We only saw each other a few times a year, which was fine with me. During my first year of college, I met Daniel, who was a bit older than me and doing his master's while I was just starting my bachelor's degree. He had already worked as a doctor and was specializing in cardiology, which is a big deal. Plus, he was very good-looking. To make some extra money and keep his knowledge fresh, he taught first-year students about the circulatory system. His teaching was popular, especially among the girls, because who wouldn't want to learn from a tall, handsome senior? I took his classes too, and we eventually started dating. By the time I was in my final year, he proposed after we had been together for 4 years. I was happy to say yes since he was already working at a hospital during the holidays. When I went home and showed my mom the engagement ring, she was thrilled because it was unusual for me to be serious about someone. Daniel was the first guy I had dated or been intimate with. My mom asked for details about him because she could tell we were planning to get married. Samantha always said I'd never find a good man, meaning someone rich and good-looking. Whenever she heard I was dating someone, she'd joke that it wouldn't last. So, when she heard about Daniel, she was very interested and wanted to know more. This was unusual because she rarely showed interest in my life, which she always thought was boring. I asked her why she cared, and she said it was because he'd be part of the family. Mom asked me to invite Daniel for New Year's Eve dinner, and I later found out Samantha had asked Mom to do that. Since we didn't have any plans for New Year's, Daniel agreed to come. When we arrived at my parents' house, Samantha was there to greet us, which was odd because she usually spends New Year's partying with her friends and is never home. It should have been a red flag, but I didn't think much of it. I don't worry about other people's lives. When Daniel came over with me, Samantha was really taken with him. Her first comment was, "I thought you were rich, but you're handsome too." It was clear she was flirting, but I didn't pay much attention because I trusted our relationship. Throughout the evening, she made lots of advances, like complimenting him, touching his arms and thighs, and chatting with him. She even sat next to him at the dinner table. I gave her a look, and she just pouted and said, "You get to sit with him every day. Today, I can be his arm candy." Everyone laughed, and we took it as a joke. During dinner, Samantha learned that Daniel liked to go for walks after eating. After dinner, she offered to show him around the neighborhood. Daniel looked at me, unsure, and I didn't say anything. He agreed awkwardly, and they went for a walk. That night, as we drove home from my parents' house, Daniel asked if I noticed how Samantha was flirting with him. I laughed and said she's just an attention seeker. I thought Daniel wouldn't be so easily swayed by her looks, but he was. He fell for her charm and cheated on me at the first chance he got. A few months later, during my final exams, I saw less of Daniel because I was focused on studying. He started reducing our communication, and when I asked him about it, he said he wanted me to concentrate on my exams. I didn't suspect anything wrong. On the last day of my exams, I asked him to pick me up from college, but he said he was too busy. Later that night, I called Daniel to check on him. He said he was home and very tired. I decided to surprise him by going to his place, but it was locked. I called him again, but he didn't answer. The next day, he still didn't call back, so I called him and asked why he had lied. He said he had stayed at a colleague's place. I should have taken this as a sign, but I didn't. Since this was my first serious relationship, this went on for a week until I finally realized what was happening. I asked Daniel directly if he wanted to break up with me. He hesitated for a moment before quietly saying yes. He told me he no longer loved me. That was the last time we spoke. I didn't ask for reasons or details. It was painful enough without any explanation. Daniel left me feeling insecure and full of unanswered questions. It took me months and a lot of whiskey to get over it. But eventually, I moved on. I was actually relieved that he broke up with me after my finals. Otherwise, I might have had to delay finishing medical school. 7 months later, Samantha called and invited me to her engagement party. I congratulated her and asked about her fiancé. She wouldn't tell me his name and said I should come to the party to meet him. I was happy for her but also sad because I should have been getting married around then. Instead, I was single and dealing with my breakup. I tried to put aside my own troubles and went to her engagement party. When I arrived at the venue, I saw a sign that read Samantha and Daniel. It made my heart race, but I tried to calm myself, thinking it might be another Daniel. But as I went inside, I ran into two of Daniel's friends who turned away when they saw me. My heart pounded as I approached the area where Samantha and her fiancé were sitting. When I saw Daniel with his arm around Samantha, I was shocked and didn't know what to do. I just stood there with tears in my eyes. My mom soon pulled me aside and told me to stay calm and not make a scene. She said no one knew about our past and she wanted to keep it that way. I couldn't hold back my emotions and shouted, "You know everything, and yet you let this happen. Samantha is awful, and you're all in on it." Samantha then came over with a smug look on her face. It felt like a replay of the past 15 years. She said, "You thought you could have this man? He's handsome, tall, and rich. You're just plain, and you don't deserve him. Look at how perfect we are together and how people admire us. We're such a great couple, and everyone would laugh if you were with him." I wanted to hit Samantha, but my mom stopped me and told me to leave. She thought I was trying to stop the engagement and yelled at me, "Why are you here? Don't you have any self-respect?" I told her I didn't know Samantha was with Daniel. If I had known, I would have stayed away. Samantha denied inviting me. She told my mom she didn't want me there because it would upset me, but she had actually invited me just to humiliate me. I left the party in tears, feeling the pain of my breakup all over again. It was a really hard and traumatic time for me. Thankfully, I graduated with good grades and started working at a good hospital. With my busy schedule, I didn't have much time to think about my past. I kept myself occupied on my days off and eventually moved on. Years later, I met my husband at work. He's a board member at the hospital where I work. We dated for 4 years and are now happily married with 2 kids. Just a week ago, I got a call from an unknown number. When I answered, the person said she was Samantha. It took me a moment to remember she was my sister, especially since some of my patients are also named Samantha. I asked her why she called, and she acted very sweet, asking about my life. This was unusual for her. I told her to get to the point. After a pause, she said she needed help because Daniel, her husband, was in trouble. A patient had an allergic reaction after surgery, and the hospital might fire him. I asked her what I could do about it. She explained that Daniel worked at a hospital chain where my husband is a board member, so my husband might be able to help him. I wasn't interested and told her not to call me again. I made it clear that we wouldn't be helping them. I didn't know Daniel was working for the same hospital chain as me, just at a different location. When I checked the employee portal, I saw that Daniel was listed as suspended. I thought about talking to my husband about it but decided not to bring up my past. 2 days ago, my mom showed up at my door. I was shocked because I hadn't seen her since Samantha's engagement. She hugged me and cried, saying how happy she was to see me after so many years. But I knew her real reason for visiting was to get help for Daniel. My husband was home and heard my mom asking for help. He told her that Daniel was accused of medical negligence and that there was an investigation going on. He said he couldn't and wouldn't use his position to help Daniel. My mom didn't say anything more and left quietly. Yesterday, my husband came home and told me that Daniel's investigation was over. He would be fired from his job, but my husband could help him keep his medical license if Daniel paid a large penalty. My husband said he could ask the other board members to be lenient and not report Daniel's case to the state healthcare department for further investigation. Now I'm faced with a choice. Should I put aside my past hurt and help Daniel, or should I let him face the consequences of his actions? As a doctor, I know how hard it is to get a medical degree, and losing a license is a huge blow. You've been through a lot already, Daniel's betrayal and Samantha's drama. Now Samantha wants to drag you back into their mess. You've got your own life and family to focus on. Keep your dignity and let them handle their own problems. You'll be glad you did. Update. I didn't need to ask for advice to know what to do. What Samantha and my mom did made it clear they didn't deserve any help. They've been posting nasty things about me on social media. I don't use Facebook much, but this week, I saw that Samantha had tagged me in several posts. She called me a vindictive witch, saying I was trying to ruin her husband's life out of jealousy because Daniel married her. She claimed I was seeking revenge. My mom joined in, saying I was abusive and cut them off just because I couldn't handle Daniel marrying Samantha. Even our extended family took their side, accusing me of going too far by affecting Daniel's job. Daniel himself commented, saying I was delusional and that he never loved me or proposed to me, he always loved Samantha. I quickly untagged myself and blocked Samantha and my mom on social media. I told my husband to make sure Daniel faced all the consequences. He was surprised by my anger but agreed to take action. Daniel was fired from the hospital, and his case was sent to the state healthcare department for a new investigation. If he's found guilty, he could lose his medical license and even face prison. I'm enjoying the drama with some popcorn. Edit. Just to clarify, Samantha and my mom weren't added to my social media. My account is open so anyone can tag me. I hadn't blocked them before because of what happened 15 years ago. Now they're blocked from both social media and my life. It looks like Daniel's fairy tale has taken a sharp turn. Karma has a way of catching up, and it seems Daniel is finally getting a taste of his own medicine. Update 2. Now things have taken an even worse turn. Daniel showed up at my workplace, pretending to be a patient, since he worked at a different location within the same hospital chain. I wouldn't have met him otherwise. I asked him to leave right away. He insisted he had paid for a consultation and that I should treat him. I agreed but turned on my phone's voice recorder to protect myself. I'm glad I did. Daniel was pretending to be sick with the flu. I gave him the appropriate medication, but he wouldn't leave. He started asking unrelated questions and flirting with me. I told him to stop and leave. Daniel told me, I wanted to apologize. I didn't mean to hurt you. But Samantha trapped me. She blackmailed me into marrying her or she would accuse me of molestation. I knew he was lying, but I enjoyed watching him squirm. He went on, I know you still love me, and that's why you're taking revenge. I regret marrying Samantha. If you convince your husband to help me avoid prison, I'll leave Samantha and be with you. We can have a secret affair while you stay with your husband. I laughed and called security to get him out. He didn't realize he was being recorded, and the look of disappointment on his face was priceless. He thought he had convinced me. I texted Samantha with the recording, saying, your pathetic husband came to my clinic pretending to be a patient. She replied, I know. He tells me everything. We also know you still love him. If you can help save his license and avoid prison, I'll let you spend a night with him. Samantha's response was shocking, and it was clear they were all in on this together. I told my husband, who was surprised. He said we could have sued Daniel for bribery, but it would have brought up my painful past. I decided to let him handle the legal stuff while I focused on my own revenge. I added Samantha, Daniel, my mom, and other relatives on Facebook. They accepted the request quickly, probably thinking it was a good sign. I then posted a detailed account of how they were trying to manipulate me to help Daniel avoid prison. I included screenshots of my conversation with Samantha and turned the voice recordings into a video with pictures of Daniel and Samantha. The post went viral with lots of comments. I blocked Samantha, Daniel, and my mom to avoid their retaliation. My extended family and other relatives were outraged by Samantha's offer to let Daniel have an affair with me to avoid his consequences. Samantha and my mom tried to contact me, but I had blocked them. I spent the last couple of days reading the comments on my post. People are really going after Samantha and Daniel, making my weekend quite satisfying. Wow, the audacity of some people is unbelievable. So, let me get this straight, Daniel, the charming troublemaker, shows up at your workplace, spins a ridiculous story about how you're still in love with him, and then suggests a secret affair behind Samantha's back. And then Samantha joins in, offering to let you have a night with her husband if it means saving him from prison. Is this real? With just one post, you've exposed their shameless actions for everyone to see, and the internet's reaction has been amazing. Watching all this drama unfold has made your weekend pretty great. What do you think about this situation? What would you have done? Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more incredible stories. Your feedback and support mean a lot to us.
Two days before my due date, my husband's ex sent him a frantic text about an emergency. He told me to handle things on my own and disappear for a week. When he finally came back, he was stunned to find his mom at our house with some papers. Oh boy, I read it. I'm in a very complicated situation right now, and any advice would be greatly appreciated. My husband Jeremy, 35M, and I, 32F, have been together for 5 years, married for 2. We met through work, so I didn't know much about his past initially. Eventually, I learned that we both had only had one serious relationship post-college. My ex and I had dated for 4 years, 3 during college and 1 year after, but we broke up due to personal differences and lost touch. We had been broken up for almost 5 years when I met Jeremy. However, Jeremy was still in touch with his ex when we started dating and was actually pretty good friends with her. His ex, let's call her Valerie, was his high school sweetheart. They had been together since they were 16, right through college, and had been broken up for 5 years when he met me. He told me that they had parted ways because she wanted to advance her career with a job in Australia, and he didn't want a long-distance relationship. They tried to make it work for a few months, but eventually mutually agreed to part ways since it was for the best. They were part of the same circle, so they continued to stay in touch and remain friends. I was fine with it until I met his group of friends for the first time after almost 9 months of dating. All of them got together for dinner on New Year's Eve, and Jeremy decided to take me along to introduce me to his friends. Valerie was there as well, which surprised me since I hadn't been prepared to see her. Jeremy had only said nice things about her, so initially, I wasn't insecure. But as soon as I started interacting with her, I realized her energy was very different from what I had expected. Jeremy had made her sound warm and relaxed, but she wasn't like that at all. She made some really cutting remarks about me in front of everyone, and everyone just laughed it off because apparently that was her sense of humor. But I didn't like it one bit. Nobody seemed to get it because she disguised her comments as jokes, like how she remarked that I looked different in person than in pictures, and how she wasn't sure if I was Jeremy's type since he preferred tall blondes and I was neither. But she was, and everybody laughed since they thought she was just joking. She also made some remarks about how I was her successor, so she felt like she owed it to me to give me some training on how to keep Jeremy happy. These remarks were still somewhat harmless, and I was willing to look past them, thinking she might just have a very weird sense of humor. But then, while we were drinking, she toasted to the fact that Jeremy had finally moved on and how happy she was for him. I thought that was nice until she added that had it not been for her decision to move to Australia, I probably wouldn't even be there with them. Thankfully, nobody laughed because it was awkward, but she quickly started laughing at her own comment, forcing everyone to chuckle to move past it. It wasn't lost on me that she was still possessive about Jeremy. Once we got back home, I told him I didn't want her speaking to me again if he wanted to be with me. I told him I was uncomfortable with his friendship with her since she was clearly not over him and had been rude to me the entire evening. I had put up with her respectfully once, but I wasn't going to do it again. I was very clear about my boundaries because even in my earlier relationships, I had to deal with similar issues. Thankfully, Jeremy seemed to understand where I was coming from. He told me he also found her behavior strange and decided he would cut her out of his life because he didn't want her causing issues in our relationship. After that incident, I never heard him mention Valerie or speak to her again. He told me he had blocked her, so I was content with that explanation. I met his friends several times after that, and they never brought up Valerie with me, probably because Jeremy had told them I didn't like her. Things had been going smoothly until last week. I was pregnant, and last Sunday was my due date. It's Thursday now, and Jeremy left to attend to Valerie because she had some emergency and needed him by her side. He left 2 days before my due date and came back last night. We had a massive argument about it because I had assumed he had blocked Valerie and wasn't in touch with her. He told me he had indeed blocked her, but she had used a different number to contact him and was pretty desperate. Apparently, she had been diagnosed with stage 2 brain cancer and really needed someone to be there for her. I was furious with him. How could he leave me alone when I was so heavily pregnant? I understood that it was difficult for him to accept that someone he used to be close to might not make it, but it wasn't as if she was going to pass away immediately. He could have gone the next day after being there for me during the labor and seeing his child born, but as soon as he got the news, he had to leave immediately. I tried to explain how ridiculous it was for him to even consider leaving me in this condition, but he insisted he'd be back before I went into labor, saying due dates aren't accurate and I might still have another week. He told me to just deal with it until he returned, then left for the airport without even finishing our conversation. He knew I didn't have my family here. My parents lived in Iowa, and I was completely relying on him. After he left for the airport, I tried calling him several times, but his phone was switched off. Desperate and upset, I called my mother-in-law, who had always been nice to me. Through tears, I explained the situation, and she came right over, trying to call him as well. But of course, his phone remained off. She comforted me and stayed with me all day because I was extremely upset and kept crying, with the pregnancy hormones amplifying my emotions. We couldn't reach Jeremy until the next day, and even then, he didn't answer our calls. He only sent us both a text saying he would be back soon, hopefully before the baby was born. He apologized and said he would accept any punishment I deemed fit when he returned. But for now, he had to be there for an old friend who had no family in Australia and whose parents couldn't fly out due to her father's illness. She was counting on him to help her process this news, and he just had to be there. His explanation did nothing to calm me and only made me angrier. He thought it was more important to be there for an old friend than for his pregnant wife. A cancer diagnosis is serious, but what could he do about it? Cure her instantly? No, he should have stayed with me. My mother-in-law agreed and asked me bluntly if I wanted to leave him. Without much thought, I said yes. She spoke to her lawyer and had him draw up divorce papers and an agreement to terminate Jeremy's parental rights. She told me that if he came back before the due date, I could decide whether to file for divorce or talk to him first. If he didn't make it back in time, it would be clear what I had to do. Having raised Jeremy as a single parent, she understood the struggle and was determined to ensure I wouldn't go through the same thing. She promised Jeremy would pay child support, unlike his father, who abandoned them. She stayed with me throughout the week, offering support. For the next few days, neither of us contacted Jeremy. On Monday, I went into labor. My mother-in-law tried calling Jeremy to let him know, but he didn't pick up. She decided not to text him because there was no point. Fortunately, my parents had flown in the day before, so they were there for me. Still, I felt Jeremy's absence acutely. I made up my mind that no matter what happened when he came back, I would never see him the same way again. 3 hours after giving birth, I filled out the paperwork for the divorce and told the lawyer to file it on my behalf. One of my friends had advised me that if I wanted to be happy and be a good mother to my child, I had to take care of myself first. I couldn't do that with a man who prioritized his obligations to Valerie over me. After our daughter was born, I didn't even call Jeremy. My mother-in-law, my parents, and I stayed at home together. My parents were supposed to leave tomorrow, so it would just be me and my mother-in-law. I told them all about my decision to leave him because he hadn't tried to contact me despite promising to be back before the due date. He had spent a week with Valerie instead. Last night, Jeremy came home late. I'd opened the door and he hugged me, but I shook him off and said I wanted nothing to do with him. Hearing the doorbell and the commotion, my mother-in-law walked into the room with the papers and threw them in his face. She demanded he leave immediately. She didn't care where he spent the night. She wanted him out of the house because I needed peace and quiet after giving birth. She also told him I had already filled out the divorce paperwork and needed him to complete the paperwork to terminate his parental rights. Jeremy was shocked and speechless for a few minutes. I left the room because I was still weak and needed to recover. Seeing him had weakened my resolve. Then I heard yelling and realized Jeremy was fighting with his mother. I stayed out of it, comforting my daughter. After a few minutes, Jeremy started calling my name, demanding to see his daughter, claiming I owed him that much. That infuriated me. I put my daughter in her crib and confronted him. I told him I owed him nothing. He had chosen not to be there for me during my pregnancy and the birth of our child. leaving me alone. I was lucky my mother-in-law was there for me, but I owed him nothing. I told him to leave and that we could discuss this later in the morning. He left with tears in his eyes, trying to talk to me one last time, but I told him to go. We were tired and went to sleep. This morning he showed up again. I finally told him it was over. It had been over the moment he left to be with Valerie. There was nothing he could say to change my mind. My mother-in-law was in the room, but I told her I wanted to have this conversation with him myself. Jeremy started crying and begging. My mother-in-law had to leave the house with the baby so our daughter wouldn't hear him. He kept insisting he had only gone because Valerie begged him, claiming she was on her deathbed. He said he stayed because she was alone and needed comfort, and it was purely platonic. But I wasn't there, so I didn't know what had happened. I told him it didn't matter anymore and I wanted him to leave. Then he pleaded, saying even if I divorced him, it was too harsh to take away his chance of being a father. He wanted me to reconsider or he would fight for custody. He knew it was unlikely he would get custody since he hadn't been there for the birth, and we could use that against him. Plus, our newborn daughter needed me more than her father. He begged for one chance because, despite everything, he really wanted a family. Eventually, Jeremy did leave but asked me to think it over. Now, I'm not so sure what to do. This is a huge decision involving people's lives, so I want to be certain before moving forward. Am I the asshole for divorcing my husband and asking him to terminate his parental rights over our daughter because he skipped her birth to be with his ex, who claimed to be on her deathbed? Update: I've made up my mind and am going through with the divorce. I'm still contemplating whether I want full custody or not. Jeremy has shown up at the house every day to apologize and literally beg for forgiveness. It's getting harder to turn him away, but I know I have to. Thankfully, my mother-in-law has been incredibly supportive and is helping me take care of the baby. My parents had to fly back home, but my mother-in-law has moved in with me long-term to provide the help I need. I told her that even if I decide against giving Jeremy full or partial custody, she will always be welcome to visit her granddaughter. I asked my mother-in-law for her opinion on the custody situation, but she left the decision to me, confident that I'll make the right choice for both of us, just like I did with the divorce. I'm still struggling with this decision, and it hasn't gotten any easier because Jeremy keeps showing up. Every time he comes, I feel like taking him back and forgiving him, but I can't, not after everything I've been through. Valerie has always been a sore spot for me, and he ignored that even when I was pregnant with his baby. Honestly, I don't know if they have been in touch or if something was going on between them recently. I can't trust anything he says anymore. His apologies are always the same. He insists nothing happened. It was all platonic, and he was just taking care of her because she claimed to be on her deathbed. Every time, I have to tell him the same thing back. It doesn't matter anymore because I've made up my mind and am leaving him. It's sad, but that's just how it is. Update 2. A few days ago, I posted an update about deciding to go through with the divorce but being unsure about filing for full custody of my daughter. Now, I think I know what to do. For almost 5 days straight, Jeremy showed up daily to apologize and try to win me back. Then, he suddenly stopped. I found it strange but felt relieved, thinking I could finally think clearly. However, after he stopped coming, I started receiving texts from people telling me that what I was doing was incredibly wrong and immoral, and they never expected me to act like this. His friends began bombarding me with messages, not just his usual group but every single person who went to school or college with him. It felt like he set up a template for them to send, like a petition. They sent emails and messages trying to convince me to cancel the divorce. At first, I blocked people left and right, but then they started making fake accounts to send the same messages. There are only so many people you can block. Besides, I'm dealing with emotional trauma, processing everything, and trying to be there for my newborn daughter. This is the last thing I needed. If Jeremy really cared about me, he wouldn't be putting me through all of this at such a delicate stage of my life. It's obvious he only cares about himself. I don't think I have to worry about my daughter's custody anymore. I'm going to file for full custody, and that's final. He still has the papers and can sign his rights away if he chooses. I've spoken to my lawyer, and this is happening. The messages I've been receiving are hurtful, and I know for a fact that he has written the template and instructed his friends to send it to me. It reflects his beliefs more than anything else. If this is how he views me, we don't need to be together at all. The messages included a line saying, "We never expected you to be the kind of person who would use their child as a pawn to punish their partner. and play mind games like this? Is he for real? Does he seriously think I'm using our daughter to punish him for what he did? He clearly doesn't understand how marriages or children work. That line hurt me deeply and solidified my decision. When I showed the messages to my mother-in-law, she was very upset and wanted to contact him and tell him off. I asked her not to because it wasn't worth it. Confronting him would only lead to him denying any involvement, even though it's clear all his friends are sending the same type of messages. I don't understand why he involved his friends in this. It's not like I'm going to read their messages and instantly stop what I'm doing. Their opinions don't matter to me because they aren't my friends. I've never been close to any of them, so they can think whatever they want about me. I don't care. I guess he thought if enough people started texting me, I'd give in to the pressure. But he doesn't know me at all. I'm not the kind of person who bends to pressure. I did change my mind when he showed up every day begging for forgiveness. I knew letting him back into my life would not be good for any of us, especially our daughter. I might have felt terrible about it, but I still went through with it because I don't bend easily. After being with me for so long, he should have an idea of what kind of person I am, but it's clear he doesn't. It's becoming clearer every day that I'm doing the right thing by leaving him. Even if every single person he knows starts texting me, I will change my mind. In fact, this situation has only strengthened my resolve. As long as the people I love are on my side, I don't have to worry about any of this. Update 3. The legal proceedings for the divorce and the custody agreement will commence in a couple of days. Jeremy has decided not to contest the divorce but is demanding at least partial custody of our daughter. We're going to see how that works out. I'm open to the idea because I'm not inherently evil, but I don't want to implement shared custody until our daughter is at least a couple of years old. That's what we're going to negotiate, and I'm very happy I've made this decision for myself. Now that it's finally happening and hitting me how real all of this is, I thought I would be scared, but I've never felt more sure of anything in my life. I think some of this confidence might be because of a message I received from Valerie yesterday. She told me that she really didn't want to be a homewrecker but needed somebody by her side since her parents wouldn't be there for her. Jeremy was the only person she could think of. She also mentioned that over the past couple of years, she had tried to contact him several times, and he had always turned her down, saying I wouldn't approve of it. But she knew that her oldest friend in the world would always be there for her, especially if she was sick, which is why she contacted him. She apologized for the trouble this had stirred up in my marriage, but thought I should let him retain his individuality instead of being so controlling. So, I was right that he hadn't blocked her at all, and they had stayed in touch, maybe not in the way I thought. But they did at least speak to each other. The worst part was that she also told me they had shared a moment when they were together and ended up kissing for a couple of minutes. But after that, Jeremy had drawn away from her, saying he couldn't do this, especially while his wife was with his child. She told me that he had not let the kiss last more than a couple of minutes, and that was how loyal he was to me, as if that was supposed to make a difference. It was ridiculous, but yes, I was right about everything. Now, getting the divorce and custody on my terms should be a cakewalk. I've spoken to my lawyer, and we've tweaked our petition to demand slightly more of everything because I feel I deserve it since I've been cheated on. I'm feeling very confident about what I'm doing and know that things are going to work out. D is retiring, so to celebrate, I'm taking our parents to Germany today. I'm using your platinum card for the trip and plan to have a great time with it. This is going to be an amazing trip. What are you talking about? Exactly what I said. No, I don't understand what you mean by exactly what I said. Please explain. We need to hurry. Okay, we'll go soon. Sorry, I have to leave now. I'll hear the details when I get back. Just one thing. Does the credit card work? Huh? My unemployed husband Jeremy took my credit card to take our parents on a trip. I've tolerated a lot from Jeremy, but this seems like the perfect chance to teach him a lesson. When he comes back from the trip, he'll have some big regrets. I'm Maria, a 35-year-old company employee. After graduating from a top university, I got a job at a major company and have been doing well there. Even though I'm only 35, I earn enough to support Jeremy, who doesn't work, and a child if we had one. But we don't have kids yet, though we're thinking about it soon. With a good job and income, I should be happy in my married life, but I'm not. The idea of having a child is just a possibility, but Jeremy not working is real. I'm not hungry for dinner because I ate snacks. That's fine, but what about your job search? I didn't go for an interview today. I just stayed home looking at job websites. Jeremy quit his job a year ago and has been job hunting since. Actually, he's been working part-time but doesn't stay in any job for long. He starts a job, quits soon after, takes a break, and then looks for another part-time job. You're looking at part-time jobs again, aren't you? I'm looking at both full-time and part-time. Why don't you stop looking for part-time jobs and focus on finding a full-time position? I know, but everything has its own timing. I wish Jeremy would find a steady job, but he can't be pushed too hard. He quit his last job because he had a conflict with his boss over work policies. That boss was known for being difficult. Jeremy stood up to him as the office representative with support from his colleagues. But when the situation got worse, his colleagues sided with the boss, not Jeremy. Because of that, Jeremy lost the boss's approval, felt betrayed by his colleagues, and found it hard to stay, so he left the company. Jeremy, dinner's ready. Can you bring it here? After quitting his job, Jeremy became reclusive and stayed in his room. After about 3 weeks, he started coming out and helping with household chores. All the dishes, really? Thanks. Then it's all yours. Yeah, I've got nothing but time, Jeremy said with a smile, but it didn't seem very genuine. After another 3 weeks, he started looking for jobs again. I have an interview today. Is it your top choice? Yeah, I'm going to get this job and start over. I'm rooting for you. Do your best. A month after quitting, Jeremy started job hunting seriously, but after another month, he still hadn't found a job. Why am I always getting rejected? Damn it, it's all my old company's fault. Don't get frustrated. You'll find something good. Of course I'm frustrated. I didn't do anything wrong. Jeremy might not be entirely blameless, but what happened at his last job wasn't completely his fault either. Still, quitting because of interpersonal issues doesn't look good to potential employers. It feels like I can't do anything right anymore. That's not true. You have an interview tomorrow. Let's work on your resume. It's pointless. I'm not going tomorrow. The constant rejections wore Jeremy down. But after a while, he became defiant. One day, I came home to find torn-up resumes on the living room floor. Knowing the interview didn't go well, I chose my words carefully. Can you throw that trash in the bin? I'm done. Done with what? Job hunting. We can live on your income, right? I don't need to work. True, we could live on my income alone. Some people don't work and do a great job as full-time homemakers, but that's not Jeremy's situation. He's just avoiding dealing with the tough realities. I understand his reluctance after the bad experience at his last job and the unsuccessful job hunt, but we need to face this issue directly. I decided to be patient with Jeremy for now. Jeremy, you still haven't found a job. What's your plan? I've worked hard before. This is just an extended break. I'm not just resting. I'm studying for the future. That's good to hear. Since Jeremy quit his job, his parents, Linda and Brandon, started visiting us more often. They were probably worried about him. Hearing that Jeremy was preparing for his next job seemed to ease their concerns, but it was a lie. The beer will run out today. Can you pick some up on your way home? It's running out again. You drink too much. Try to cut down a bit. Fine, I won't ask you again. I'll buy it myself. Jeremy wasn't studying or job hunting. Instead, he spent his days watching TV and drinking beer. He probably didn't want others to know he was unemployed. I didn't want to hurt Jeremy by telling my in-laws the truth, so I decided to keep quiet about his excuses. But after over 5 months without job hunting, I decided it was time to address it. Jeremy, maybe it's time to start job hunting. You seem more settled now. What? It's been less than half a year since the problems at my last job. You want me to work again so soon after that? I just think the break has been a bit long. Stop nagging. You don't understand my situation because your job is going well. I have my own struggles, you know. Everyone has work problems and relationship issues. We all try to solve them. Let's work through this together. I get it. I'll look for a job. Jeremy walked out in the middle of our conversation. It seemed my words had hurt him, but him agreeing to look for a job felt like a positive step. I decided to wait until he was in a better mood to apologize. I got a job because of your nagging. That's great. Where? At a nearby supermarket. So, you'll need to learn and work hard, right? It's just part-time. No need to work too hard. Part-time or not, a job is a job. Is that a problem? I wanted to say something to Jeremy, but maybe starting a little work could help him get back on track. I decided to observe and see how it goes. I'm home. Jeremy, you're back. How's the job? I quit the supermarket part-time job. Why? It hasn't been that long. A college student there was being bossy, telling me to always put the vegetable boxes at the bottom in storage. It felt like harassment. That student was probably just showing you how to do the job. In many workplaces, even a college student can be a senior. Jeremy kept finding new jobs but couldn't stick with any of them. It's been a year, and he still hasn't managed to keep a job for long. Jeremy, what job are you doing now? I'm working part-time at a pub now. I've never worked in food and beverage before, but it's interesting. I think I've finally found my calling. Really? That's great, but isn't the pay from a part-time restaurant job kind of low? That's fine. I'm currently apprenticing and aiming to go independent. So you plan to own your own place someday? Exactly. The income is small now, but I'm working hard for that goal. Then take this. Treat yourself to something nice for once. Jeremy continued to put on a good front in front of his parents, but it was all lies. He quit the pub job just 4 days after this conversation and even took an allowance from his parents. I couldn't help but feel disappointed in my husband, so I decided it was time to be firmer. Hey Jeremy, we need to talk later. I'm at a good part in the movie. You can pause it. I took the remote control from the table, paused the movie, and started the conversation. It's just pressing pause at a crucial moment. What's up? Jeremy, you're 38, right? That's a prime working age. Don't you think about the future? Spending all day at home drinking and watching TV isn't a plan. The future? There are plenty of 38-year-olds who aren't working. Many people enjoy life without a job. True, but those people usually have something else they're passionate about. Do you have anything like that? Yeah. I know you're upset about me not working. I'll look for another part-time job. Jeremy seemed set on sticking with part-time work. Given his reasons for leaving previous jobs and his struggles with job hunting, I had tried to be gentle, but it was time for him to get serious. I needed to be stricter. One day at work, I got a text from Jeremy. Dad's retiring, so we're going to Germany to celebrate starting today. I'm borrowing your platinum card to splurge on the trip. I panicked and called him right away. What do you mean, a trip? Exactly what I said. I don't understand. Please explain. There are so many problems here. It's okay to celebrate Brandon's retirement, but he should have asked me before using my money and borrowing the credit card. It feels like stealing. And why am I paying for a trip to Germany that I'm not even going on? Jeremy was probably bragging to his parents, claiming the money was from his savings. The thought of it infuriated me, but one thing Jeremy said caught my attention. You mentioned borrowing a credit card. The one for our house? Yeah. Why do I have a platinum card? Some people think you need a high income for it, but that's not true. Your credit history, stable income, and other factors matter, and it's achievable even in your 40s. The annual fee is high, but I use it for the benefits and points. However, that credit card is in my wallet. So you took the credit card from home? Yeah, so I'm counting on you for the payment. Jeremy was excited about his trip to Germany and spoke to me in a provocative tone. I had been patient with him for a long time, but this seemed like a good opportunity to address the situation. Jeremy thought he was being clever by taking my credit card and acting all cheerful, but he was in for a surprise. What are you doing? We need to go. Got it. I'm coming. Sorry, I need to move on now. I'll hear the details when I get back. Just one more thing. The credit card you took won't work. What? That can't be right. It's in Maria's name, and the expiry date is this month. It's short, but it shouldn't be a problem. You're lying, right? Maria, you're lying to stop me from using the card, aren't you? Yes, it expires this month. That's why I've already received a new credit card. What does that mean? So, I have 2 credit cards right now. When a new one is activated, the old one sometimes stops working. I've already started using the new card, so the one you took won't work. You're kidding, right? You think I'm lying? If you don't believe me, I can send you the link to the credit card website, or you could just try using the card yourself. It would be interesting to see you try to pay with a card that doesn't work. This credit card really won't work. Hey, hurry up. I hear his parents calling him in the background, but Jeremy, realizing the card won't work, seems too flustered to pay them any attention. What should I do? I told them I'd pay for everything except the round-trip travel. Oh, so they covered the flight? Yes. Dad felt bad about having all the trip costs covered. What should I do? I'm about to take a cab, and I don't even have money for that. That's not my problem. You said you'd pay for everything except the flight. Using my credit card in the first place was wrong. Pay with your own money. How can I? I don't have any money. Exactly. Jeremy, you haven't been working seriously. It's your fault for trying to look good by taking your parents on a trip without having the money. I'm at work, so I have to hang up now. I just wanted to tell you about the credit card. Wait, I hung up and went back to work. Jeremy, unable to pay for even the cab, would have to come clean to his parents. That night, after finishing work, I got a call from Laura. I heard from Jeremy that he tried to use your credit card and lied about working. I'm sorry for the trouble. No need to apologize, Laura. I'm sorry about the credit card issues. Are you okay with the money? We'll cover the trip's costs when we get back. I'll make sure Jeremy apologizes and finds a job right away. I'm sorry, Laura, but I'm considering divorcing Jeremy. Divorce because of this? It's part of it, but Jeremy has been taking money from me for a while. What? I stopped giving Jeremy money to curb his drinking. He started a part-time job and bought his own alcohol, but the salary wasn't enough for daily drinking. Jeremy began stealing money from my wallet to buy alcohol. Over the year, he repeatedly took amounts ranging from $7 to $70, which added up to a significant sum. I had been strict, hoping he'd change, but when he stole my credit card for his trip, it was clear he had no intention of improving. I respect your decision. Should I tell Jeremy about the divorce? Could you just tell him I want a divorce? We'll discuss the details when he gets home. About an hour later, the next morning after my call with Laura, Jeremy called. He must have heard about the divorce from her, but I had asked her to wait until he was back to discuss it. Too exhausted to deal with it, I decided not to answer. The next morning, after returning from work, I found Jeremy at home. He had cut his trip short. I'll work properly now. Please don't leave me, he pleaded as I entered the living room. Seeing Jeremy, he immediately apologized. His regrets seemed sincere but came too late. He had a whole year to change and still asked for another chance. I had warned him repeatedly, but he squandered every opportunity. I'm not going to give Jeremy another chance because he gave up on me. My mind is made up. Can you leave? Please don't say that. If you don't leave, should I call someone to help you pack your things? I'll move out only if you can afford the rent here. Jeremy fell silent. He didn't even have the money for next month's rent, let alone any income. My words and the reality of the impending divorce made him realize the severity of his situation. With nothing to take, Jeremy seemed to be leaving the house, probably heading to his parents' place. I considered asking if he had money for transportation, but Jeremy isn't a child. He should manage his own affairs, money or not. I watched him leave, feeling a mix of sadness and resolve. After leaving, Jeremy went to his parents' house. Later, I received a call from Linda. My parents-in-law let Jeremy stay for one night, but then asked him to leave the next day. They were worried he might become too reliant on them if he stayed. They wanted to create a situation where he had to fend for himself. It must have been tough for them to send their son away, but they felt it was necessary for his recovery. Kicked out from his parents' home, Jeremy came back to our house, pleading with me. Please help me. I've got nowhere to go and no money. That's the result of your own actions. You need to handle it yourself. Everyone faces hardships. Sometimes it's necessary to ask for help, but all you've done in the past year is abandon your responsibilities and do as you please. I didn't let Jeremy into the house and turned him away from the doorstep. The divorce went through eventually. Despite his reluctance, with the support of his parents, it happened faster than expected. I don't know what happened to Jeremy after we split. He's probably still jumping from job to job and making excuses for himself. I used to think I'd feel lonely without Jeremy, but I was surprised to find that I didn't feel lonely at all. Instead, I felt a weight lifted off my shoulders. Living with Jeremy had been incredibly stressful. His attitude and constant need for reassurance kept me on edge. I was always walking on eggshells, afraid of saying something that might upset him. Now, without him around, I don't have to worry about that anymore. My life has become much more comfortable. I hadn't realized how much of a burden our relationship had been. I was constantly trying to support him both emotionally and financially, and it drained me. Now I can focus on myself and my own well-being. I'm relieved that I didn't let Jeremy drag me down with him. I was always trying to help him, hoping he would change, but it never happened. Letting go of that responsibility has been freeing. I no longer have to cater to anyone else's needs or deal with anyone else's problems. I can finally live my life on my own terms without having to accommodate anyone else. It's a fresh start, and I'm embracing it fully. I have more time for myself, more energy to pursue my own interests, and a clearer mind to think about my future. I'm grateful for this new chapter in my life, free from the stress and worry that Jeremy brought into it.